Hello, and welcome to the special monthly bonus installment of Fully Booked and Caffeinated, Bookish, Banter, and more. I'm Heather.
And I'm Kelsey.
And on these episodes, we discuss what other books we read this month and whether or not we recommend them, as well as other pop culture we are loving.
Sure do, because we love our pop culture.
Oh, yes. So as per usual, before we jump into the episode, let's talk about the caffeinated portion.
Yes.
So I am simple Heather today. I just made one of my coffee K-Cups, put my Rice Krispies, oh my god, I can't talk, Rice Krispies creamer in there, but what makes it special is it's in my new mug that I did not need, that has Snow White on it.
I would argue that you needed it, but
and if there's one thing about me is I am a total Disney adult. So if I see a Disney mug that I need, I'm gonna buy it.
And don't worry, you're allowed to judge her because I do.
Yes.
It is a very cute mug. I can attest to that.
Yeah, it's like one of those Ray Dunn mugs from Marshall's.
Yeah.
She has all those cool looking mugs. I love them. They're huge. It's a big mug, but I like it.
Yeah, that's a big one.
What about you?
I have a shocking surprise.
Oh no.
I, Kelsey, have a Starbucks coffee today.
What? Like an actual Starbucks
like
coffee?
Like an actual, you hear that ice? Yeah, it's clinking around. I got a cold brew with a shot of espresso, brown sugar syrup, you know, that's my jam, and a little cream. And I'm just living my best life over here with my thin plastic cup, my metal straw.
Looks good. It looks good. They have that, one of those upside down drinks that you get, and they said I think it might have just been like a vanilla one, but it had mentioned to substitute it with the brown sugar syrup, and it's even better.
I was going to say, how could it not get better by putting the brown sugar syrup?
Because I do like those like upside down espresso drinks or whatever they call them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or the shaken, the ice shaken espresso lattes or whatever they are.
Oh, okay.
And I think the original flavor is a vanilla or something, but I saw an article that said to substitute it with the brown sugar syrup.
Yeah, I was worried that the brown sugar syrup was a temporary thing because they did it when they did some kind of like the brown sugar shaken espresso drink or whatever, and they had that with the cold foam, but then they still have the syrup. So I'm just over here living my best life as long
maybe
as
they'll keep it for a bit.
I hope they keep it forever.
Well, I went to Starbucks last week and they still have the peppermint mocha. I think that they just buy it in bulk, obviously.
Oh yeah,
and they just sell it until it runs out.
I actually one year for part of Eric's Christmas gift, I got him a jug of the white chocolate Starbucks syrup. Like, it was literally a Costco size of the syrup.
How long did it take him to go through it?
It took him, I think we had it for like 8 months before it expired. And there was he got through at least 3/4 of it.
That's good.
But also, you know, that shit is just like full of sugar. You know,
I know.
Putting like 10 pumps per drink.
I know.
I was like, this is a bad idea. But it just shows you could literally buy anything on eBay.
Oh, is that where you got it off eBay?
Yeah. And it was like
wild.
unopened. Like, it's obviously not like someone was using it in their house.
I thought you could actually go to Starbucks and ask them if you can buy syrup. I could be wrong. But yeah, I think someone had said that before.
But that's probably like location specific if they let
definitely.
You. Wow, I'm going to go and be like, excuse me, can I please have this brown sugar syrup? I need it.
A whole jug. I know it's large, but I need it.
I do buy the Tirani brown sugar cinnamon syrup, though, and that's an okay substitute.
So I need to start trying those syrups in my coffee. I just get, like, Coffee Mate creamer.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can make more fun. When I use my Nespresso, eventually, I'm going to want to get those syrups so I can make fancy coffees at home.
And they have so many different flavors. I always get the sugar-free ones. They also have the skinny syrups, but I don't like those ones. I think they're too
I tried
sweet.
Skinny syrup, the alcohol mixers, and I didn't like them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're
I'm
kind
assuming
of like medicinal tasting.
Yeah. It's not tasty, and if I'm going to drink something, I want it to be tasty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to ruin my delicious coffee with some crappy
absolutely
syrup.
Not.
You value coffee too much. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers, happy podcasting. All right. So, Kelsey, why don't you get us started on your February reads and your thoughts on them?
Okay. This month, I did not go off on just, I don't know what took over me in January that I read 60 million books.
Uh-huh.
I was able to take it down a notch and read a normal amount.
There's no such thing as a normal amount. You can read
That's
one
true.
book and still be accomplished, or you could read 15 books like you did last month and be accomplished.
Yeah, but I was like, wow, my brain is overloaded. It's like, I need to relax a little bit. So I read, actually, my first book is The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James, which I read in January after we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to bring it up because I loved it. I thought it was so good. It's really good if you like a little bit of spooky, but not too much spooky. And then obviously like the thriller and even like a true crime-esque genre. So that was really good. I read The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torrey. I loved this book. It's not necessarily a thriller, so it's better to just go into it blind, but I highly recommend, unless you hate women, because it's a lot about women empowerment. Anyway, if you hate women, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
Exactly.
8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. That's a no from me. I thought it was really, really boring. I just couldn't get into it. Gone to See the Riverman by Christopher Triana. Come on. You know I'm not going to say it right. That one was really good. It's a horror novel. It's a little shorter, and it's very dark and disturbing and twisted, but the horror element was really good. Like, it wasn't overdone. It was pretty good. I liked it. And then lastly, The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, which, unpopular opinion, I hated this book. I gave it 1 star.
Oh no.
Yeah, hated it. And there's actually a movie adaptation that's in theaters right now, which is it's based off it, and it's called Knock at the Cabin. It's written and directed by the master of twists, M. Night Shyamalan. Mm-hmm. So I really want to see the movie because I know that the movie is going to be different than the book, because like the book didn't have any twists. So I'm like, M. Night Shyamalan is probably going to make it more interesting and twisty, you know? And also... And
you read the book, so you might as well watch the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And like, if everyone loved the book so much, maybe I'll like the movie. I don't know. I just get curious about that, especially if it's like... Because a lot of people do really love this book, obviously, if they made it into a movie. So I just get curious about that. Like, even when we talked about The Only Good Indians, I'm like, I would watch a movie of this because I'm so curious about it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, don't recommend the book, but we'll see about the movie. I'll report back.
That'll be on one of our catch-up corners on one of these episodes.
Exactly. All right, so what did you read? You read a lot this month, Heather.
I definitely read more than last month, including our book club book and our podcast books.
Yes.
So I had a great reading month. All these books I rated 5 or 4 stars.
I love to hear it.
It was a really, really good reading month. So last month I had brought up Twisted Games. I finished out the series and I read Twisted Hate and Twisted Lies. Both were fantastic. Each one I read I liked more and more than the other ones. So
really?
The first book is Twisted Love, and I hated that one. So it took me a while before I got back into them. But Twisted Hate was very, very good. But Twisted Lies was just phenomenal.
Wow, you don't usually hear about it getting better.
They all just got gradually better and gradually longer.
That's another problem.
Like Twisted Lies was I think over 500 pages.
That's crazy.
But it's such an easy, quick read that you don't notice how long it is.
Right. Now, is this definitely the end of the series?
Yeah, okay. This is the 4. So there was a character that shows up in 2 of the last books. She took that character and she pulled him out, and she's doing a new series with just him.
Okay, gotcha.
It's called King of Wrath, and so I have that on my TBR to read too. She has 1 book out, and the second one I think comes out in like April or something.
Okay. So she ended on a high note. That's nice.
She did, yes. And then I read After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. which was very good. It's a romance novel. Highly recommend. I just love her. She's quickly becoming a top 5 author for me.
Okay.
Every book I've read so far, I've loved. And I cried. I'm pregnant, so I'm hormonal, but I cried. I read The House in the Pines, which by Anna Reyes, which is Reese Witherspoon's book of the month for her book club. Loved that. That was a really good thriller / mystery. Definitely recommend. And this was her debut novel. So I'm very much looking forward. I'm very much looking forward to future novels because I've really enjoyed her writing style.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I like that Reese features people who it's, their first novel, or some that aren't even like that popular and stuff like that, and gets them that exposure. It's pretty cool. And
she does really good choices also with diverse authors.
Yes.
Because I believe she's Latinx, so I think that's it's really good. I started the Dreamland Billionaire series, which I am obsessed with. I read The Fine Print and Terms and Conditions so far, both by Lauren Asher. The third book actually came out this month. And as I mentioned before, I'm a Disney adult. And Dreamland is like a smaller version of Disney. And there's spice. And there's love. And I love it.
So it's like spicy Disneyland?
There's everything. Yeah, kind of.
Wow, okay. That sounds like a lot.
I know.
All right.
But my favorite book of the month that I read, that I sobbed multiple times. And this author just pulls at your heartstrings because the other 2 books of hers I've read so far, cried. Again, she's becoming a very quick author for me that I'm loving. I read The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, which is a historical fiction novel. I could not recommend this book anymore. Like, it's definitely the best book I've read so far this year. I know it's only February, but I think it's going to take a lot for anything to top this book.
Oh, wow. Look out. Okay.
Yeah. It was so good. So I have no complaints. Every book I read this month, I loved.
That's amazing.
I know.
They've all been great. Good. Yeah.
Because last month I had some I didn't love, but this one I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, you even had a DNF
I did have a DNF last month.
Wow.
With the shit nuts. So.
Don't talk to me about the shit nuts.
So there were a couple books that were released this month that both of us are excited about. For me, it was the 4th book in the Never After series by Emily McIntyre, and this one was titled Twisted. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, but the reviews I've seen on our favorite app, Goodreads, seems promising. Which I'm not surprised, because the other 3 books were pretty fantastic. They're basically steamy adaptations of Disney characters, but she completely changes. She'll take the characters, but switch them around and make them morally gray. Like the first one was Peter Pan, the second one was Lion King, the third one was Wizard of Oz. I think this one is based on Aladdin.
I mean, which is even crazier because a lot of the Disney movies are morally gray.
I know.
Have questionable.
So they're not like absolutely taken from there. She just takes the characters and kind of
like how Once Upon a Time is like
yes, absolutely
inspired by all of this stuff.
Yeah, so
I used to love that show.
Me too. Don't even wait.
So
you loved that show? Did we never talk about this before?
I don't think so.
I was obsessed with it.
It was of course you're obsessed with it. It's based off Disney. Okay,
I know, but given. I was Emma Swan one year for Halloween.
Were you really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I was obsessed with Killing
really
Jones.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched the last season.
It wasn't
by
great.
Then it was just like out of control. But that was a pretty good show.
I kind of want to rewatch
that
it
one
now.
Holds up. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that was my anticipated February release. Do you want to talk about yours?
Yes. So I am looking forward to it. It actually comes out February 28th. So it's not even technically out yet. But The Angel Maker by Alex North. And I've read 2 other books by Alex North, The Whisper Man and The Shadows. And both, Whisper Man I gave 5 stars. Shadows I gave 4 stars. Like, I just love Alex North. He's a master of sinister creepiness. And all of his books have children in them. which like the children aren't the creepy part, but like the children are like being targeted or whatever.
Oh,
So it
okay.
makes it even creepier and like the stakes are higher. And I just really, really like him as an author. So I'm like, I don't think that he could do any wrong. So I'm really excited for that one.
I have his books on my list to read.
Yeah,
I've heard
the
really
Whisper
good
Man
things.
is really, really good. That's one of the best books that I read last year.
That's awesome. Yeah, both good books. Can't wait to read them. So we have a lot of book news to kind of discuss. We each have two items on our itinerary. So the first one, I saw this all over Bookstagram, and it's a pretty common occurrence, but apparently Amazon is taking books down from Kindle just without notice.
Like taking them down for purchase or taking them away if you've already purchased them?
I will read you the article blurbs.
Okay.
It's actually part of the Kindle Unlimited platform,
Gotcha.
which
Okay.
I told you about. I do that. That's how I read a lot of my books. You pay, I think it's like $9.99 a month, and you have access to a full library of books that are available that you can download. You can't keep them. You can keep, I think, up to like 10 or 15 books, but then you have to,
Okay.
it's almost like a library. You have to return them after you try to add something new to your library. It can
Right.
only hold so much.
And not all books. So like
Not all
brand
books.
new releases aren't going to
No,
be like
but it has
included.
rock, paper, scissors on there, so I'm going to try to get to that one eventually.
Oh, okay. That was a good one.
Yeah, they have a couple good thrillers on there, and a lot of indie authors are on there. So a lot of these romance books that I read are by indie authors.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, all right. How well is Amazon actually taking care of the indie authors who contribute to its Kindle Unlimited platform? On the surface, Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing, or KDP for short, program seems like a game changer in the world of self-publishing. Countless indie authors found that they could self-publish their books with little hassle via Amazon and have them made accessible to large audiences. Additionally, authors get to choose payment plans that range from 35 to 70% royalties. KDP has granted opportunities to many indie authors and offers great visibility to their work. However, Amazon certainly has its flaws, which we know this.
Yes. Don't get you started on that.
For multiple reasons. And it has been known to do little to stop fraud and abuse taking place on its platform, harming both sellers and consumers. Just as Amazon refused to combat unethical third-party selling, it is now failing to use its resources to combat piracy, letting authors take the brunt of the negative effects instead. So several authors have begun speaking out about the harsh nature of Amazon's exclusivity rules. Authors like Carissa Broadbent have reported having their Kindle Unlimited books taken down with no warning or notice due to being victims of piracy. Broadbent reiterated that she had no control over the piracy of her work, and Amazon's extreme reactions to any violations of the agreement took no notice of this fact. Instead, she received a vague email stating her book had been taken down and realized her monthly income had been snatched away with no notice.
Oh my goodness.
So basically, if you choose to enroll your work onto these KDP programs, you're forced to basically not be able to post it anywhere else. And if it is, Amazon considers it piracy and just immediately takes it down without notice or payment, which is obviously so screwed up.
So you're basically completely not limiting because obviously Amazon has such a huge reach, but you are still limiting what you can do to promote your own work.
Yeah.
And then, like they said, once it's gone, that's your income. That's what you were completely relying on because you knew that you couldn't have it anywhere else. Oh, that is...
Yeah. So these
fucked
indie
up.
authors are forced to try to fight Amazon to get their work back up. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. It's crazy. And then they're losing out on this hard worked income that they have. So that's why a lot of people say it's better to, buy your books from bookstores or thrift stores but obviously the digital platform is easier for some people too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one
Especially,
of those things like how obviously it's better to, support small bookstores, which we obviously do, but we also buy from Amazon and Barnes and Noble and stuff too. But it's like, how judgmental can you be,
Agreed. And the Kindle Unlimited program is kind of good financial choice because you're only spending X amount of money a month, but you're reading multiple books.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a catch-22. You know, there's positives, but there's obviously cons.
Yeah. And it's obviously so hard for some of these authors to go against Amazon. Like, I'm surprised any of them win at all.
I know. Exactly. So my second...
I'm sure they have to jump through hoops.
Yeah.
But.
My second piece of news is that the Harry Potter cast might be coming back for Cursed Child.
I cannot believe this.
So it's not, like, proven, but I'll get into it. So Warner Brothers is looking to fund another Harry Potter project, which CEO David Zaslav deems profitable. Despite the controversy that author J.K. Rowling has gone into, Zaslav remains her trusted ally. Which, gross.
Don't like that.
In fact, known leaker WDW Pro revealed that the studio plans to reboot the franchise with a brand new cast. Did you know that?
No.
Right?
The whole franchise
crazy?
with a different cast?
Yeah.
But based on the same story?
It seems that way.
That sounds dumb, but okay.
Yes. So, aside from the rumored remake of the Harry Potter films, there have been plans to adapt the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child play that premiered in the West End in 2016. The story follows the adventures of Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy's sons, Albus and Scorpius. So since Warner Brothers owns the right to the Cursed Child stage play, there is a huge possibility that it will push through. Original cast Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint will also be at the same age as the characters in the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah, because they're the parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's talk about those three potentially coming back to reprise their roles in the movie, but it has not been confirmed, and the odds are probably like 20-80.
Well, yeah, because I don't even know if they would be willing. They've spoken out so much about escaping the Harry Potter world and that, like, culture and stuff.
And Daniel Radcliffe had said that the only way he would ever come back is if the script was restructured to how he wanted it to be.
Okay.
So it's probably not going to happen, but it would be cool.
I would love if it did. I have such a conflicting relationship with anything Harry Potter because I want more, and I never want it to stop. But I also don't want J.K. Rowling to get shit. So that's a conversation for another day. But
I know, because I even heard that the new game that's out, Hogwarts Legacy, even though she had nothing to do with it, I think she still gets royalties from it.
Yeah, because they're using the name and the trademarks and stuff. Also, everyone says that game is amazing.
I want it so bad.
Yeah, Erica's like, oh, like, it's really worth it. Like, I'll get it for you on my computer. Everyone's saying that, you know.
It's what I've heard, too. Everyone really, really likes it.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly a gamer, but, like, for Harry Potter, I am.
For the right reasons. What's your book news?
Okay, so first I have this article written by Barry Pierce for GQ Britain, and it's basically about book talk being a lifestyle aesthetic instead of actually about books. So he just goes and says, okay, so he's a former booktuber. He used to review books and stuff on YouTube. And he basically just has this whole article talking about how people aren't actually into books. They're just doing it to appear like they're into books, and that it's making it really hard for a lot of authors to be exposed and to get, you know, themselves seen and blah, blah, blah. So here's a little blurb from the article.
Great.
There's an uncanny falseness behind it all, a showy nothingness that only approximates bibliophilia. Who doesn't want to be seen as literary? Being perceived as having read a lot of books warrants a fair share of cultural capital. If you can fake it, then why not? Which, like, you sound salty.
Yeah,
because you participated in BookTube, and basically just the fact that you didn't participate in Book Talk and it took off without you, and now you're not a part of it and you're not benefiting from it. Now you just sound salty that you're not getting, like, you didn't think of it first. So a lot of influential book talkers have come out, you know, in response to the article saying that it's bullshit, and Book Talk has helped get exposure for a lot of marginalized authors.
It has.
Helped, yeah, like, I mean, we've talked about that before. And it's so true. It's helped bookstores with sales, where we all know that bookstores have been dying off in recent years. So it just kind of comes off as like whiny, and he is just mad that he missed the boat, that he's not on the most like current social media platform. So, but I thought that that was interesting to bring up
Definitely.
because people on Book Talk were popping off.
And to circle back to the bookstores, it's actually really cool. I see so many people posting to Bookstagram that Barnes and Nobles and other bookstores, they make just like a whole section for like Book Talk books.
Yes. So there was a little controversy with Barnes and Noble because they had started organizing Book Talk events, but they weren't including any Book Talk influencers. So they kind of got a little backlash from that. Like they were basically using Book Talk to generate business, but not actually using the people from the platform who made it what it is. But yes, they have been doing a lot of that. And I think after that backlash, they started getting people more involved in it. But yeah, they'll even have like trending on Book Talk, or like they'll do the videos, of employees saying like, these are the popular books on Book Talk and whether I'd recommend them. Like, so they are definitely playing up to it, which I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all.
Especially if it's helping boost their sales.
Yeah, exactly. And like, they're still a major company who's going to do whatever they have to do to make money. But I'm not going to be mad about a bookstore because I love me some Barnes and Nobles. So I can't be mad about it.
Eric is so mad because our Barnes and Nobles here, it's been building a new cafe for years. And Eric is like, taking so long. When is this going to open?
Oh, I love the cafe. They have the best little treats in
I know, because it just keeps saying like coming soon. And Eric like, well, when is it coming?
Oh my gosh, why is it taking them so long?
I know.
Ridiculous. Okay, so my second piece of news is that Roald Dahl's books are being rewritten. So a bunch of Roald Dahl is famous for a bunch of children's books, Matilda, James the Giant Peach, to name, a few. So his books are being rewritten and republished in coordination with Inclusive Minds, which is basically an organization aiming for inclusivity and diversity in children's books. Okay. And their publisher, Puffin. So they're not rewriting the books. They're basically just removing words like fat and ugly. They're using more gender neutral terms. It's not like they're changing everything to they, them, but they are changing, like the Oompa Loompas are now little people instead of little men.
Okay.
So it's like ways that aren't actually changing the story, but they're just removing these somewhat offensive, like fat and ugly, like these terms that don't really contribute to the story and are, like these are children's books. So
yeah, no, that's interesting because I was listening to the R.L. Stine Armchair Expert episode from last year, and he had brought that up, that he's starting to write Cabbage Patch, the Garbage Pail Kids. He's writing books, and they said, pick a couple characters, and he was limited because so many of the characters have really derogatory names that are kind of canceled
80s, right?
Yeah, so obviously a lot has changed since when those things came out. So he's kind of strapped for what he can do. And he even says because he's still writing like Goosebumps books, and there's certain words he's not allowed to use. There's certain things he's not allowed to do because it's now considered inappropriate or, like you said, not good for children.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like there's a difference between, like, some people are saying like, oh, this is censorship and blah, blah, but like these are children's books. Like, why do you need to have the words fat and ugly in there?
Yeah.
So basically, I think it goes two ways. Like, Roald Dahl was hugely anti-Semitic and like just a real piece of trash. And so I feel like there's nothing wrong with this because it's not affecting the story and it's getting some of those triggering words out. But here's the part that people have an issue with. So Netflix recently acquired all of the rights to all of Roald Dahl's books. So basically what it's turning into is a marketing scheme to re-release all of these books, make big budget adaptations on Netflix, and be able to use the new editions for marketing campaigns. So I obviously don't find that surprising. Like, they got to make that money, but it's just a little depressing to see that there always has to be a reason, like a financial reason to make these kind of changes when you could just take out the words fat and ugly and just
I agree. There's always a financial motive behind any of decisions.
Yeah, and especially with someone as big as Netflix. Like,
yeah.
Are you kidding? So I'm interested to see once they start reproducing a lot of these into adaptations and stuff, and if they're going to be for children or, who they're going to be geared towards.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. And then I have one more thing that's just a little honorable mention piece of info.
Okay.
So 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. We already knew that it was being adapted into a movie.
Yes.
Originally, it was picked up by Freeform, but then they recently announced that it's actually picked up by Netflix. So okay, huge improvement. And also they announced that Liz Tigelaar, I don't know if I'm saying that right, she's going to do the adaptation. She's the woman who did Little Fires Everywhere.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, improvement to Netflix, and that's going to be a really, really good writer and producer.
Is it going to be a movie or a series?
It's going to be a movie. And
okay, that actually, I could understand why people would want it. I read it. You didn't.
No, not yet.
I read it, and I think it would be better as a series.
Everyone is saying it would be better as a series because a different section for each husband.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, they literally, since they announced that Netflix picked it up and that she was going to be doing the adaptation, nothing else has come out. There's no release date, there's no casting, there's no nothing. So I wonder if that could still change, once they get into the writing process for it. I don't know. But like you said, I haven't read it yet, so I don't have an opinion on how it would be best. But I'm really excited to read it and then watch it on Netflix.
Yes. Yes. And that's like an Easter egg because it's going to be a future episode on the podcast.
Yes, exactly. So get excited for that.
Woohoo. So aside from our reading, we also watch too much TV.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I actually watched a lot of the same stuff this month.
Yes.
Take away like 1 or 2 things. And so the new season of Outer Banks came out this month.
Just dropped.
I never watched it, so I decided to rip off the Band-Aid and start it. And I've only watched season 1 so far, and I watched it with my husband, who now is obsessed with it. Like your boyfriend. Yeah. Don't know
obsessed. Why. I wonder how many people are just screaming right now, "Don't do it!
I know.
Turn back now!" Because I am caught up on Outer Banks. My boyfriend is literally obsessed. We just started the new season that just came out. We're only 3 episodes in. And it's outrageous. It's wild. Mm-hmm. It's a good show, but it's ridiculous.
Well, I just have to tell you, and I told you this before, Eric's one comment is, where are these children's cell phones?
They're 16. They're 16 years old.
Like, they should have a cell phone.
Yes.
And they just don't.
They don't. Not a cell phone in sight. There are some cell phones in season 3, just so you know.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They really upped the ante with the technology in season 3 so far.
Great.
So for anyone listening who has not watched Outer Banks and is thinking about it, I do recommend it, but I also have to let you know that once you're in, and you're going to want to stop watching it, but you can't. And you're going to think it's ridiculous, but you have to watch it anyway. And that's that.
So now we're in the cult of Outer Banks.
Pretty much.
Also, You came out, the first half of it. They're releasing the back half next month. You just binged it all yesterday, basically, right?
Yes. All 5
I binged
episodes.
it when the day it came out. And it's completely different than the previous seasons. And I personally loved this season.
Mm-hmm.
I like the murder mystery vibe to it.
Yeah, it's like a reverse whodunit murder mystery.
Yes. So if you haven't watched it yet, I don't know, skip
Spoiler
ahead.
Alert? Yeah.
Yeah, skip ahead maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not sure because we're gonna talk about a spoiler that happened. I knew it. I knew it was Reese.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But there's this conspiracy theory that I saw on TikTok, or I read an article, either one.
Same thing.
Only people think that Reese is a figment of Joe's imagination.
Okay. I was wondering if that's what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Because go ahead.
Because every time that there's a scene with Reese, no one else talks to him. It's only him that talks to Reese.
Oh.
So, like, for instance, in one of the first episodes that he meets them, they're at the bar. Only time that Joe is speaking to Reese, there's no one else around. And so everyone thinks that part of the conspiracy theory is that Reese is just this person that doesn't really exist. And Joe, or like he does exist because there's the book.
Yeah.
But that Joe has created him after, because he binged, like he flew through the book that the student gave him.
Yes.
And so now he's created this figment of his mind, and Joe is actually the one killing these people, but he's blaming it on Reese.
I don't think this is a conspiracy. I think this is a spoiler, because this sounds 100% spot on.
I know, but I don't think it's true. I think that Reese is real, and I think that he is the one doing this.
I don't know, because when they showed, like when Rold was doing his whole thing when he was about to start hunting Joe through the woods, and he was like talking about the murders, and obviously they show Joe committing the murders, like how he would have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was when I was kind of like, wait a second, because I also thought it was Reese all along, but that it seemed too easy. So that's why I feel like there could be a conspiracy.
I know, but then I also wondering if they're throwing this in there to make you think that it's what it is, but it's really, because I feel like You does a lot of kind of throwing in red herrings to throw you off.
That's very
that
true.
That aren't really true. So, but I'm excited. I'm sad it's the final season. I know it's been dragged on, but I do love it. It's a good guilty pleasure show.
I do love it too. And I think that, like, yes, you can have your issues with some of the individual episodes or like whatever, but the way they tie everything together, like the last episode of the previous season was amazing. Like the way that they tied it all together and wrapped it up, I thought was so good. And even though this season is very different and has a very different feel, it is still the same Joe. Like he still is disposing of bodies. He still falls into the extremely rich crowd that he doesn't fit into. So like it does still have the same general feel, but just like this cool added element. So it's not just another love story, because we don't need any more of those from Joe.
No, definitely not. So that's why I like that they kind of took this on a different route.
Yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how it's going to end.
Yeah, definitely.
And you watched another scripted show I think you had on your...
Yeah, so, well, first I tried The Patient with Steve Carell on Hulu.
I heard about that.
I couldn't get into it.
People say it's terrible.
Which I'm so upset, because I really love Steve Carell, and I was like, oh, I'll watch anything with him in it. But I watched the first 2 episodes, and even like his acting was kind of bad. And I was like, is this on purpose? I don't know. I didn't watch long enough to decide. So that I couldn't get into. But I did watch Red Rose on Netflix, which is a British, they call it a horror series, but something like current horror or something. Present horror, I don't know, whatever, because it has like technology and stuff in it.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically, the idea is that it's this app that you download on your phone, and it just slowly starts taking over your life, like ruining all of your friendships, ruining your relationships, and then ultimately like people just start dying left and right. So
that's almost kind of similar to that one Black Mirror episode about social media.
Yes, it has those vibes. But then it's British, so obviously I love it. I
love British shows.
But it's like aggressively British, to the point where like some of the words I was like, I don't know what these words mean. And I watch a lot of British TV, okay? So I was like, ugh. But I had on them subtitles, so we're good. But yeah, I recommend it. It was good. At first I was like, I don't know, because it's about high schoolers, and you know how I feel about ages in these shows.
I know, but honestly, there's really good shows about teens.
Yes.
I didn't watch it, but I heard The Midnight Club on Netflix was pretty good. Did you watch that?
I watched a couple episodes of it. Eric wasn't into it, so we stopped watching it, and I was like not invested enough to keep going with it. I think the thing is, I love the high school shows, but it has to be somewhat believable. Like in
Yeah.
Red Rose, the parents are very involved. Like they're very present, so you know that they're high schoolers. Like it's not like they're just like running amok all the time, like in Outer Banks.
I was just going to say that.
So that's why
Because
it's a
Eric
little
also
more...
says, where are the parents?
Exactly. So I feel like that's why that makes it a little more believable, and I can watch it better. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was a good one. What else did you watch?
Well, we're both obsessed with Perfect Match on Netflix.
1000%, but not for the reasons that you might think.
No, it's actually a pretty terrible show, but it's so good.
Yeah. If you're looking for a dating show, don't turn it on. If you're looking for a dramatic Netflix reality show,
yeah,
turn it on.
Yes. Yes, it's not the concept of the show sounded good. And then you watch it and you're like, no, this is not good, but I'm so invested and I love these people, so I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. And like, I just love watching these people self-destruct, some of them because they're trash humans. And I'm only specifically talking about Bartice and Damien from Love is Blind. But so like seeing them on this show is just so wild to have them back on my TV. Which, speaking of, we also watched Love is Blind After the Altar. That came out this past month.
I wasn't that impressed with it until the end part with like Raven and SK, but
yeah,
it was just okay.
I agree. I thought it was boring. I thought it could have been one episode.
Yeah.
And it was basically the same thing as the reunion.
Yeah, it actually kind of was.
It was like the same drama, you know. So I wasn't crazy about that.
Yeah, obviously the bombshell about SK basically having multiple relationships, even though he proposed to Raven in Love After the Altar.
Why did he do that?
But he was dating another woman.
Well, then, so she went on Nick Viall's podcast and said that basically SK was begging the producers to leave off the proposal for the final cut of After the Altar. So he knew that shit was about to explode in his face. He was begging them to cut that, like begging them to cut most of his interactions with Raven. So like he knew that he was going to get caught out. I mean, because you always do, obviously.
And it's just so shitty because he was one of my favorite people from the season. I loved him in Raven.
Yeah,
and I thought that he was so genuine. And it turns out that no, he's actually trash.
And also, Raven was so... like, she came off as so shallow and just, like, focused on the wrong things. But then as the show went on, you realized that how deep she was and how, like,
Agreed.
kind and...
I was obsessed with her. By the end of the season, Raven was my favorite girl.
Yeah. Like, she was there for the right reasons. Like,
yes.
Ew. I just used, like, a bachelor
language.
Myself. That was so gross. That was so culty of me. But yeah, that was sad to see, just that he was trash and she deserves so much better. And so does any of the other women that he was in relationships with.
Yeah, it's
like he's trash.
Just terrible.
Yeah.
And then I got you addicted to Love Island UK, which I know you're like a little behind, I think you said.
Yeah, but well, it's a lot to keep up with. To be fair, Heather, it's on every day. Every day.
Week, so obviously, we're like 2 weeks behind the original series because it takes place in the UK. So Hulu started it 2 weeks late, but they're putting an episode out each week like it's on now.
Yeah.
So, but this week is Casa Amor week.
I'm so excited for Casa Amor.
And I'm so excited.
I live for Casa Amor.
I already saw some spoilers for it, but I can't wait to see how it plays out because there's one couple that breaks apart that I was shook about.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay.
Yeah.
You also got me hooked on, I guess I'm skipping to the podcast, but Love to See It, the podcast.
Bachelor Rewatch,
yeah. They do recaps of The Bachelor, but they also have started a secondary series called Channel Surfing, which is on their regular feed, but they watch other dating shows apart from The Bachelor, and they did 2 episodes so far on The Perfect Match, which were, little recaps, and they obviously are as obsessed with dating shows and stuff as we are. So they know all of all of the people. And I just love their podcast. I think it's really good. It's really
They're
relatable
so
and
funny.
fun. Yeah.
And I love them.
Obviously, we listen to their recap of The Bachelor too, and they're so good with that.
Yeah, they're really, really good. Another show that I'm obsessed with. Well, it's not even... The show is great. It's the person that I'm obsessed with. I fucking love Gordon Ramsay. Like, love him. And if he has a competition cooking show, I'm watching it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So last year, this is the second season of it, but it's called Next Level Chef. And it's actually a really cool concept cooking competition. So that just started back up again. So I'm super excited about it.
I watched the first season. That's a really good show. I used to love MasterChef.
I love it so much.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
so good. And I love MasterChef Junior. These little kids are so much better at life than me, and I'm jealous.
Oh my God, I know. And they just have so much discipline. And they actually like doing it. It's not like toddlers and tiaras. Like, they actually just love cooking. And I'm like,
I know.
This is so cute.
I know. And podcasts that I love this month, it's almost like little Easter eggs like thrown out throughout the episode, because you brought up, Roald Dahl and Matilda, and Sounds Like a Cult did the Cult of Child Stars.
Yeah.
And Mara Wilson was a guest on the show, and she talked about some stuff, and it was really good. I feel so bad for these child stars. Like, I didn't know that Selena Gomez, her education stops at like 8th grade. It's crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot of things in there. That was a really good episode. But it just makes you think about all of your favorite childhood stars and just seeing how they ended up. Like, I mean, we know Macaulay Culkin and Lindsay Lohan and just like Britney Spears, all of these people that we loved as kids, and they just kind of didn't have any choice but to grow up in the spotlight. And it sucks because there's no one there to really take care of them.
No, there's really not.
Yeah, so that was a good episode.
Yeah, and then I'm a huge fan of the country artist Kelsey Ballerini, and she got divorced, I think about 2 years now, and her ex-husband put out a song about it and everything, and so she was... It's very, like, controversial. Like, he gaslights her, basically. And so she put out this EP that had, like, 6 songs on it that was fantastic. I am in a happy marriage, but I'm obsessed and I can't stop listening to it. It's just so good. But she's dating Chase Stokes from Outer Banks.
Yeah.
And
so there's a little
it's
tie-in.
so cute.
Yeah.
It's so cute, and I love them. And he posts cute little pictures of them to his story all the time, and I'm like, I just love you guys. And I'm happy she's happy. But she went on Call Her Daddy podcast, and she had said that she was going to do one interview about her EP and about her relationship with her ex. And so she chose this podcast, and it's just a very emotional podcast, and she opens up about things that happened during her relationship. And then, of course, her ex-husband like comes back and like slams her, saying, all the stuff you're saying isn't true, blah, blah, blah. But obviously, so.
Yeah.
But so when they met, she was, I think, 21 and he was like 29.
Okay.
So, and he's Australian.
So young. Yeah.
So they got married when she was 23. And he would always say, I don't want to be an old dad. I want to have kids. And she's like, well, I'm not ready to have kids.
Yeah. Because she was a child.
So she brought up to him that she wanted to like freeze her eggs, and he got pissed at her for it. So if you like, I highly suggest it. It's just actually a really just good episode. It talks a lot about being in toxic relationships and everything. So I really
like Call Her Daddy too.
I actually never listened to it. I only listened to it because I wanted to listen to that episode, but I did like it.
Yeah, I listen just like specifically if there's a guest that I want to hear about. Like I listened to the Christine Quinn one from Selling Sunset, and that was good. But there's also there was an episode of another podcast that I had never listened to, but I only listened to because of the episode. Yeah, The Diary of a CEO, and Lucy Hale was on it talking about. So she recently came out and said that she's been sober for 1 year. And basically on the podcast, she talks about, like, I never even shared my sobriety journey with anyone. No one knew that I was trying to get sober because no one knew that I even had a problem. And she said that she started binge drinking at like 14.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, and she's been trying to get sober since she was 20. and she's 33.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So she really goes into, like the extent of how bad it was and why she turned to alcohol. And that's a whole nother, like, she's also a child star.
Yeah.
Who, got very, very popular
at a young
overnight
age.
at a young age, and just felt like the only way to deal with things was to have that addiction. So it's so sad. And she like breaks down a bunch of times during the interview. So it's another really emotional one, but
I'll have
I
to
love
listen
Lucy
to that.
Hale. Yeah, I really like
me
Lucy
too.
Hale. So I was shocked to hear all of that, because she's, never been open about that before.
Yeah, I know. I read an article like last night, I think it was, and I saw that she had a drinking problem like starting at like age 13 or 14. And I was like, that's insane to start that young. And it's heartbreaking, but I'm glad that she finally found the strength to be sober, and now she's starting her sober journey.
It's also wild that she was working that entire time. Like, she wasn't just on Pretty Little Liars. Like, she has a lot of other films. She has a lot, you know what I mean? Like, she's been in a lot of different movies. She hasn't been pigeonholed by Pretty Little Liars. She's had a very successful career. And it's like, think about even how much more successful she could have been if she was not struggling. So, with that behind the scenes.
I agree with that. And then we have a couple good shows coming out in March, like the back half of You. Survivor starts Wednesday.
Survivor, I'm so excited.
Love is Blind season 4 starts like the end of March.
Yes, the end of March. And also, when Survivor comes back on, Tyson will be picking up his podcast again on Ringer Podcast Network, where he'll be recapping Survivor. So
I'll have to listen.
Excited.
I haven't before, so I'll listen to it this season.
It's so good because Tyson is like such a dick sometimes. He's just so blunt and honest. And he's just like, yeah, this guy sucks. Oh, I'd totally get rid of him. Like, he's just so funny. So definitely give that a listen. But I'm excited for Survivor to start because the last 2 seasons have been amazing.
I know. And I just love Jeff Probst. He is legitimately the best host ever.
I love that he's evolved with the ages.
Me too. Although TJ Lavin is another good host. But
yeah, but TJ is a masochist. And he just loves pain. He loves putting people through pain. But
Jeff Probst, he's very with the times. And he's called out contestants on their shitty behavior. And he's a great, great host.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And he has to stay around forever because they definitely won't have a show without him.
No, you can't. You legitimately cannot. It's been on now over 40 seasons. You can't have a different host.
Yeah.
You just can't.
So he's probably like, Probst. I just wish that I could rest, but I cannot.
No, never. But like, he lives the best life. He's in like Fiji all the time.
He definitely loves it. He definitely is like,
he spends half of his year.
What can we do this year? Yeah.
Yeah, like he's on a tropical island for half a year. That's a pretty good life.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And he's swimming in cash, so.
Yeah. So, our book questions for each other. I believe I go first, because you went first last time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, I have my question for you. We've talked recently about how the horror books you have been reading lately are not particularly up to snuff for you. Mm-hmm. So I want you to tell me what is the best horror book you've ever read, or tell me one that left a really big impact on you.
Oh, that's so hard.
That's why I put you on the spot. It's the whole point.
Yeah, but I'm just forgetting every book I've ever read in my entire life. Let me see.
I always throw like these I don't know why. I like to think of these hard questions.
Okay. This is not fair because I don't remember any book that I've ever read. But I will say that the book I read recently, Gone to See the Riverman, left an impact because it was extremely dark, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but the main character was just like a real piece of trash. Like, you find out through the book just all these horrible, horrible, horrible things that she's done. And the way the writer wrote her, you still didn't hate her. Like you were still
Okay.
kind of rooting for her.
Yeah.
And then you add in the whole horror element. And basically the idea is that she is corresponding with this man who's in jail for murdering like 35 women. And not just murdering, but like desecrating their corpses, like necrophilia, just
Oh
a whole
no.
lot of horrible stuff. And he like sends her on an errand to go see the Riverman. And that's the whole story, is her going to see the Riverman. And the horror part is basically you have to sell your soul to the Riverman to get what you want.
Okay.
And so it's just very creepy. It gives you this like this idea. You start thinking about like what would be so important to you that you would give up your soul, but also like that you would take that risk. You know
Oh,
what
I
I
know.
mean?
I
And
love
like,
those stories.
yeah, because then you start thinking about it and you're like, holy shit, like if I was placed with this decision, if I was faced with this decision, like what would I do? And like I said, like you're rooting for her even though she's horrible.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not my favorite of all time,
But it
but
left an impact. So
it
that's
left an
fair.
impact. It left
You
an
answered
impact.
the question. You answered the question.
Like that
And
was
if
a
you
lot of
want,
pressure.
listen, think of your best horror book. Come back for Ketchup Corner next month.
All
Hit me
right.
with it.
All right. All right. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Okay. So now you have to answer the question.
Yes. Oh. Oh, I don't read horror, though.
You're supposed to answer your own question.
I forgot. Well, okay, I did read I had talked to you about this. I did read a pretty good horror book last year called Hide by, I believe the author was Kirsten White, and it takes place at an abandoned amusement park. And basically, it's kind of like a more horrific version of the Hunger Games. So there's 10 or 12 contestants, and they're all invited to this park, and there's money up for grabs. Whoever does, basically the winner gets this pot of money. But what the contestants don't know is that there's this demon running amok throughout the amusement park, killing 2 people a night. So they didn't know
Holy
that
crap.
they didn't know that coming to this amusement park was going to lead to their death. And there's this whole backstory to it. It was actually really, really good. I want you to read it because I think you'd like it.
Not me adding it to my Goodreads right now as
No,
we're
it was
recording.
yeah, it was really, really good. And I really don't give too much away because you have to read the backstory to really get what happens.
Well, I love
But
the whole idea of like Hunger Games, but with horror.
yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it creeped me out a couple times.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna read that.
Yes, thanks for the reminder that I have to answer my own damn question.
Put you on
God,
the spot too.
this was my idea too, and I forgot.
know. Bear with us, everyone. It's only our second episode of Bookish Banter.
I'll just blame it on pregnancy brain. It's fine.
It's true. Okay, all right. Ready for my question, which
Yes.
I am prepared to answer myself also.
Perfect.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay, if you could have any book made into a movie or TV series with you writing the screenplay, so it would be exactly as close to the book as you wanted it to be, what would be the book? For context, I went with a more recent book I read because any book made my brain like turn into mush. So it could be, it doesn't have to be any book of all time. And it can be something that was already adapted that you would do differently.
I've read a lot of good books that I think would make good movies. And you know what? I think I have to go with The Great Alone by Chris and Hannah after reading it because it time jumps. So it starts in the early 1970s and I think ends in like the late 90s.
Okay.
But it would be a great visual movie because it takes place in Alaska.
Ooh,
And it
okay.
takes place in a rural part of Alaska that deals with having their summers are great, but their winters are bad because they have 4 hours of daylight.
Oh, I cannot imagine. I really
And it's
can't.
it's such an emotional, riveting story. And I think that it would make a fantastic movie, but it would be a long movie. It would be like a 2.5 hour movie because
Would
you
it
don't
be-
want to miss out on any details.
Would it be better as a series or better as a movie?
I think a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's enough to make it a series.
I mean,
There's not enough context because a lot of the a lot of the book is visual writing.
Okay. Okay.
So the storyline is great, don't get me wrong, but I think would make a better movie because of how visually amazing it is.
Yeah. So it would need to be like a high budget movie filmed somewhere beautiful. Okay. All right. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I picked The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchison, which I read last year. It's basically about a bunch of young women who are kidnapped and they're intricately tattooed to look like different species of butterflies.
Oh.
And then they're kept in a garden by a man called the gardener who does horrible things to them. But the imagery in the book was so incredible. Like the way that they describe these butterflies and the way they describe that like these women are being held in captivity and having to bond with these strangers, but they're in this beautiful garden and there's like a pond that they sit near. It's just like, it's a very conflicting thing. And then there's like a whole Stockholm syndrome part of it, you know. So even though it's like super dark and just has disturbing themes, I think a movie adaptation would just be so visually compelling because of, you know, the butterflies being kept in the garden.
I think that does. Your description of it sounds like it would be another good visual movie.
Yeah, it was also a very good book. I would recommend.
I will. I will add that to my Goodreads.
We need to stop adding books to our Goodreads.
Yeah, I know. My Goodreads want to read list is like 400 books now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's getting out of
never
control.
going to get to all of them, but I'm going to do my best.
Yep. Hey, we're working on it. We are working on it.
So that's our podcast, our bonus monthly episode.
Yeah, that's all I've got for you.
So you can find us on TikTok and Instagram. We're at Fully Booked Calf Pod. Give us a follow. Shoot us a message. If you want to ask us a book question, we can answer it on our March episode. And
we'll have time to prepare. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
We also have an email. Same thing, fullybookedcalfpod@gmail.com. You can shoot us an email with any book questions. We're going to eventually do like special episodes, so we'll ask you guys for like books you want us to talk about, etc., etc.
Yeah. And if you have any feedback for us, if you have anything, you know, any recommendations, we'd love to hear it.
Yes. So thanks for checking us out. And remember,
if you need us, we're fully booked. Bye.
Goodbye.